They said, can you imagine? First of all, I'm locked up. I'm not talking to anybody because I can't talk to anybody. They separate me. Okay. After I'm in custody now I'm a keep away. I'm a high 10 keep away. So my celebrity status, I'm not the celebrity, but, because of the celebrity case, I'm a keep away. So I'm away from everybody, right? So I don't have any action with anybody anyway. So they're coming in, asking me questions, talking to me, saying, hey man, you know what? Hey, Snoop Dogg already told me, this is going on, he's gonna leave. I mean, just a whole bunch of negative stuff.
Even after the interrogation, they still tried to come after you.
They still kept coming after me, man. They still kept coming after me. Nobody knew what I went through, because you have to keep in mind now, when I turned myself in, right, they took my bail. So there wasn't a bail, because if there had been a bail, like they ended up giving me bail later on, Suge would have gotten me out, and that wouldn't have been the case. I didn't have a bail. So they took my bail immediately because I was a trigger man. So I'm at no bail. So when Snoop comes in, he turns himself in. They set his bail at $1 million. Excuse me. Once they set his bail, they pull him because, he had a bail. I didn't have a bail. I sat in solitary and high power with no bail, with nothing.
You're sitting in jail. You can't bail out. What are you going through?
When my attorneys would come and say, hey, just be calm, man, we're trying to get bail. Don't worry about it. Once we get the bail, we get out of here. Every time we, try to go to a bail hearing, that was the whole point, was trying to get to that bail hearing, and finally I sat for a long time. I didn't get bail until a year.
You're in jail a whole year, solitary confinement.
For a year. I've never been to jail in my life, from Iowa. Never been in trouble with the law, ever. Never. At the time, no, I couldn't talk to Snoop, of course not. There was no contact because we were involved in the case. But I talked to Suge, and Suge, I talked to him a couple times on the telephone. He wasn't able to come and see me, obviously. But it was always, stay strong, stay powerful, we got you, don't worry about it, everything's gonna be taken care of. It was always that, always. When they gave me bail was posted immediately. That in itself was enough to prove to me again that, there's a lot of love there. Because they didn't have to do that. See, people don't get this. Yeah, it was my job. Yes, I worked for the company. Yes, I worked for Snoop. Yes, I worked for Death Row Records. But in reality, I was doing my job. So if they didn't have love for me, if they really didn't care, I know people say, well, they had to protect their investment. They had to protect Snoop. So of course they're going to protect you, meaning pay for everything and take care of it, right? But in reality, they didn't have to do that, but they did. You know what I mean? So to me, I look at it differently. I look at it a lot differently because it was expensive. The trial, it took a lot of resources, and it took a lot of time and effort and money. But you got to remember, man, before that trial happened, before the shooting happened, the family of David Kenner and Snoop and the Pound and Suge and me and Rage and everybody was so tight. It was ridiculous. David Kenner, back then, I can't describe the amount of love that he gave us and took care of us, because you have to keep in mind some of those guys didn't have anything before. And when Suge and Dre and David Kenner and everybody was putting the label together, it wasn't like a regular record label. It was more of a family. It was more of a family. And I got a chance to see it from conception, right? So I know exactly what had happened when Death Row started to rise. I don't know what happened before, like Deep Cover, when that was coming out, but when at the epitome of the beginning and the perfection of the beginning of Death Row Records, when right after Deep Cover and Chronic and the Doggy Style was coming out, and then Dog Food, it was powerful. It was a movement.
Yeah.
It was a movement, man.
Yeah. Death Row was definitely huge.